Okay. All right. It looks like we're live. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. As you can probably see, I'm in a different location. I am remote today, and the internet is challenging. So hopefully we're going to get through this. It's just really cool to be here with you guys. But this was working, and as internet does sometimes, it seems to work. You think you got it, and then it doesn't. So anyways, I think I'm live. I see your comments. If you guys can chime in, usually I can tell who's in, and I'm not seeing that, but I see a list of Marie and Arlie and Pin Curls. Howdy. Can y'all just chime in? Let me know that you're hearing me. My dash even looks a little bit different today here at StreamYard that we're using just to broadcast. So if you could just give me a thumbs up, howdy, that would be really, really good. Hey, it's 2023. Wow, I didn't even think about that. And it is a brand new year. And okay, well, this is an interesting way to kick off the year. I am not getting any feedback from anybody, so I am not sure that anybody's hearing me. I see your the comments when you came in, but not seeing any new comments. So I really need a little feedback. Okay, voices. Okay, I'm getting a note here from my phone from Robin monitoring. Here we go. Hopefully this is better. Let me know if you can see me and hear me, and hopefully your year is getting off to a less bumpy spot than mine. Let's see here. Where are we at? Howdy, folks. Sorry, there we go. Ari says that's much better. Sam says that's much better. Here I am, Diana. Yes, sorry about that. We are remote. We have some family visiting from out of state, and so we're in a different place today. And you know how internet goes. Sometimes it just doesn't do what it's supposed to. Anyways, all right. It looks like we're on track. So good to be here and see you guys. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy New Year. Hopefully your 2023 is getting off to a better start than my bumpy start here today in Java with Josh. But so good to see all the comments, and I'm seeing Megan and Nancy and Jecko and Karen and Gaming with Frodo, Cian from Farmhouse Teas, Pin Curls, Lori. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. So good to be here. And I don't know about you, I am excited about 2023. There's a lot going on in our homestead. There's a lot going on in the world. And I'm just excited to tackle the year. and to get a start right here for a few minutes with you guys. And we don't have a super specific format. I've got some pre-questions. Y'all are welcome to drop some questions in. I thought I would also talk a little bit about just the new year and plans and what some of our plans are. We spend the end of the year kind of reflecting on how things went, and then we usually spend January kind of formalizing plans, projects, things we want to work on, improvements we want to make. Hey Rose, good to see you. Rihanna, Wendy. And so I thought I might talk about that a little bit. And yeah, just see how it's going. I think let's start with a few updates. I know there is a challenge coming up. Let me go find my notes on that. So the Homestead Kitchen's got a new challenge on pantry stocking coming up. That's going to be exciting, and I think that's always a great thing to be building and developing. That is going to start in about 2 weeks on January 17th. So I'm sure Carolyn and Robin will be communicating to you about that pantry stocking challenge. So get ready for that. I think is now as much as any time, a fully stocked pantry is a good thing. So time to hone those skills and get that going. How was your Christmas and New Year's? Let's go backwards for a second. Hope you guys had a good one and had some fun. We had a very nice Christmas. It was very mellow, lots of snow. And then we have an annual ice skating party for the community. We've got a pretty nice pond. But I think this was the 4th year, and we couldn't ice skate. We had such terribly cold weather in the beginning of the winter, and then it went soft. And the ice, you could walk on it, but you couldn't ice skate on it. So the kids got creative and did ultimate frisbee and all kinds of games. Still had a really good time though for New Year's, and hope you guys all had a great New Year's and welcomed in the year. Let's see here. Just looking at a few comments. Jennifer's extremely excited to do the pantry stocking challenge. Yeah, that is going to be a good one for sure. Looks like lots of people are excited about that. And some people want to talk about gardening too, which sounds good. We're starting to think about that a little bit, though it's a ways off for us. Let's see here. Let's just jump in to a question. Kate Crab, do you have any advice regarding how to fence a large vegetable garden? Well, you know that my answer often is the answer, it depends. It depends on your situation. I know a lot of people over in our area, because we have deer and elk, they put up at least a 6-foot high fence. We certainly have that on our property. It was there when we bought the property a little over 4 years ago. And you can get as simple as some tall T-posts, and they have deer fencing that's very light and easy to put up. And that's probably the least expensive way to go if that's what you need. Another thing that works for us, because we have other gardens besides the fenced, is dogs. Outdoor male dogs do a phenomenal job of keeping the critters pushed back away from your main spaces. And of course, having your vegetable garden close, not off on the other side of the acre or acreage, is very helpful. You've got more activity. The dogs are closer to it, doing a lot of other good things for you as well. So I love dogs as a solution, but sometimes you still need fencing, and you just kind of got to figure out what meets your budget and what you're trying to keep out, which is often deer. I mean, if it's rabbits and small critters, you can go obviously with a shorter fence. If it's deer and critters that are taller and able to jump, you need to go with that 6-foot fence to keep them out. And then it's a matter of budget to, do you need to do bare bones, or can you put in a really resilient long-term fence? But I'll tell you, I don't have experience with them, but people use that deer netting. It's not a metal. I think it's 18 inches to 2 feet, and they move that around, and then you do need to build a gate somewhere, and that's a pretty inexpensive one to go. Let's see here, trying to catch up with a few questions. Lori Stallman says, having trouble with my new harvest rate. Have you had any issues with yours you have had to work out? Um, there's little things here and there. We haven't had any major mysterious issues. So not knowing what your troubles are, I can't really say. There's certainly different things to method and to the, what you're freeze drying and how thick it is and, a few different things. So, but we have not had any major issues. Um, and I think just make sure you're reading over the books, make sure you're changing the oil, doing the basic stuff, the venting and the drainage. Just make sure you're following all those directions really, really well. And then learning about the foods that you're freeze drying, because there are different foods and some different processes. So that's about as much as I can tell you, without more information. Let's see here. Megan's asking, can I get seeds from grocery vegetables and replant them to grow this year? If so, any tips? You probably can on some. You don't know how they're grown, and if they're hybrids, they're not going to reproduce true to type. So I would say I would recommend against it, Megan, just because you really don't know what you're going to get coming from the grocery store, and I don't know a lot about practices. Are they making them the seeds? And not necessarily GMO, but a lot of hybrids aren't going to reproduce true to type. Are they going to reproduce at all? So I'd say you're taking a risk um, on timing and effort. Now, if you wanted to try some things as a side note to see, that's a great experiment. And you could try it and see, but I sure wouldn't grow a garden that you're really looking to produce a lot of food on from that. I think that's a bit risky, in my opinion. Let's see here. Rachel C is asking, do you use drip tape or soaker hoses in any of your gardens? I do use soaker hoses in our hoop house where we're growing tomatoes, just because tomatoes don't like to stay damp and wet, nor do the peppers and some of those hot season crops. And so we use a soaker hose. I like that better than drip tape. However, I think somebody was asking us to try out a newer system. And so I may try that. Brian Lowell over at Next Level Gardening also has some good systems. He taught a great system in the school traditional skills course on raised bed gardenings that solved some of the issues I have with drip tape. I would use drip tape if I can make it last longer and it didn't feel so disposable. But the soaker hoses have worked pretty good for me. Let's see here. Ari Marley. Hey, Josh, had a question. What is the advantage of tarping your garden? We are starting a new garden location and don't have enough compost or mulch. What are your thoughts? So I think you're talking about using landscape cloth, garden cloth for kind of mulching. And I'd really prefer not to. We use it in our pathways to help with maintenance and hope to go away from that eventually. It does have some effects. It can heat up your soil. It can heat up your soil too much if you're not careful, but on the other side, it can warm your soil. You can prevent weeds. You can use that to lay down a mulch with and just put holes in for your plants to come up through. So it is workable. And I think if it's a temporary solution to help you get somewhere, great. It's not a solution that I think is a good soil builder, good use of material or money long term. So that would be my thoughts as well. D. Hansen Ranch talking about garden fences. A 3D electric fence is supposed to work well, he says. And I am actually not familiar, Daryl, with a 3D electric fence, but certainly you could put a row or two at nose height of the animal you're trying to keep out of an electric fence around your garden. That works super well. Harvey Ussery, author of the Small Scale Poultry Flock, he also did a class for school traditional skills. He does this around his chicken yard outdoors, and he says it works phenomenally well. So yes, that electric fencing is good, and you could even play with that without a full fence, and you might get some success with that. Let's see here. So what are you guys, I want to go away from questions for a second because I like to challenge everybody to be thinking And, like I was saying earlier, Carol and I often spend this time reflecting a little bit back on the past year and our successes and challenges. And we talked about that in a pantry chat a bit. And, now we're starting to formulate our plans, and we're all at different places on our property. And for us, we're going into year 5, season 5 on our property, and we have a 6-year goal. It's actually a 7-year goal. It's 6 years of inputs and rest on the 7th year. And when I say rest, I don't mean stopping from gardening and regular homesteading projects, but stopping from the major projects, the ones that we're building the property on, or things we want to get done. So we've been focusing a lot on infrastructure on a new property and putting systems in, whether it's shaping the land or water systems or improving the barn, adding garden areas. We've been working on a lot of those kinds of things besides day-to-day homesteading. And so we're on this track, sticking that through to 6 years. And then 7th year, we'll just go into kind of maintenance mode, just regular gardening, no big projects, and kind of review what we've done and think about the future. And so this year for us, we've got a few different things going on. I mean, some of the bigger things is finishing the cellar. You guys have seen we've started that. I'm hoping to finish it. I've told Caroline I can't promise you that because it's a large cellar and it's a large project. We've got to log the trees and mill them to get the roof on, and there's a lot going on. But that's one of the main ones. We're hoping to finish out the inside of the barn for some more animal stalls. We've got one of our girls wants to bring goats onto the farm, dairy goats. And so that's something Carol and I have never been interested in, but one of the kids are, so we want to support her in that. And possibly horses. You've heard us talk about that. So there's a lot of work on the barn to do. We also have a perennial area we're developing since we put this retaining wall in that some of you may have seen as we were doing the cellar. And that's opened up an area for us where we already had a few fruit trees, and we want to develop that out, move some of the berries out of the main crop into a dedicated perennial area so we can extend the main crop. We're going to work on that. I doubt we'll complete it this year. And we've got some house remodeling, some decks that were falling apart. So those are some of our bigger projects that we're working on. We haven't set out our priority yet, but something we encourage you guys to do, and we try to do, is list out first how many of these do we think we can get done, and then what order of priority do we tackle them based on need or weather or available resources. On a more minor level, we're expecting our beef herd, which herd is kind of an overstatement. We just have a bull and three cows, heifers, but we're expecting that to grow. We're expecting the sheep to grow, the pigs to grow. That's part of our long-term plan, and starting to hand over some small enterprises for kids. They can sell surplus. We have one son in particular who's interested in the business side of farming. So we're advancing some of those things just within the regular flow. That doesn't take us extra capital or anything, just some extra management and maybe expanding our fencing, which is another one of our goals this year. I think one of the other ones is extending our growing season. We have done well over the years at playing around and experimenting. But as far as developing systematic year-over-year things that are working, we're not where we'd like to be with that. And part of that is just the moves that we've made. Now we've gotten on this land. We, found a spot we really liked that's good for season extension because it's on a slope. It's southwest facing, so we terraced it. A lot of you know that. Now it's, and we've been growing in it, but we've still been kind of hashing out what kind of systems we want to do. And we hope to advance on that to provide more fresh veggies longer through the season without expensive systems that need direct heating or cooling. So we're trying to do this with passive systems. And that ties into a question somebody asked here that got sent in by Amy, who said, have you considered what you can do to add a heat source to your tunnels? And yeah, I've got a whole lot of ideas. I have not been wanting to do things that are requiring electricity out there, or much of it. And we're also on a temporary level. Eventually, we're going to build a larger hoop house where we might dig it out and insulate the perimeter and take some more advanced strategies like that. But one of the things that we're looking at is using, we have a large compost pile now, and using that to heat water through coiled tubes in it or under it, and to move that water through the garden beds. We have some friends up here that are doing that via a firebox and a water tank. They're building a fire in the spring, heating water, moving that through PEX tubing in the garden. And they're doing that not even a hoop house, and they get red tomatoes in June. Problem is you got to maintain a fire, and I don't have the bandwidth to do that. So there's lots of different strategies. I like Amy's strategy talking about some rain barrels, 12-volt hot water heater element, definitely. You can also put rain barrels in, make them black. There's lots of strategies with water and solar gain that you can do to passively add heat to a tunnel. I think for us, it's not heating the air, it's heating the soil. The air with a tunnel actually warms up and we get too hot and we need a more active ventilation system. It's our soil that we need warmed up. And so a lot of these strategies are above ground and they're great for warming the air up, but that's actually not what we struggle with. We struggle with soil temperature and getting that warmed up. So that's a little more of a challenge. Let's see here. Let's get back to a few of your questions. I see a little bit about freeze drying going on. Jennifer is asking, those large sprinkler things I've seen in a video, where could I find, and do you think good to add a drip tape system instead of something else? I think the large sprinkler you're talking about is maybe what we started using out in our pasture to help bolster the pasture and get us through the dry months. And that came from Big Sprinkler. If you go to bigsprinkler.com, we certainly have a lot of affiliate products. They're not an affiliate, but I like them. And we've used a smaller one of their little sprinkler on rollers for years, not very expensive. We upgraded this year to a pump that we can pump out of the pond because we really need to utilize this about 4 acres of pasture that we have close to the house. And we have a lot of water, so that's helpful. So check out Big Sprinkler for larger sprinkler systems if you have an area like that. Now for garden, that's not for the garden system. That is for pasture. That would destroy a garden, the volume and weight of the water. So don't try that there. Let's see here. Rhiannon, any suggestions on training dogs to understand garden manners versus yard? Yeah, I mean, I'm not a dog training expert. I've done pretty good over the years, and you can definitely teach dogs boundaries. I mean, a lot of people get the collars and all that. Those work okay. Those aren't really needed. You just have to, you have to train a dog to stay out of an area. And, out is actually a command I teach my dogs. So they know to go out of the space. And if you're working with them enough, they actually are pretty adept over time at learning where the boundary is and not to come in. So that's the light suggestion. That's a whole kind of deeper topic to get into dog training. And I'm pretty good at it, but as far as teaching it, I don't know. I would just say that, find a command that works for you and, be consistent. That's the biggest thing with training anybody, kids, animals, adults, consistency. And dogs will learn pretty well and generally will respect that once they figure it out. Let's see here. Daryl's asking, is the beef herd grazing the forest land around your place now? Yes. So we are doing some mixed grazing. And also this year, we had them in about 20 acres. It was temporarily fenced. They did great, but they hit it a little bit too hard. And so we're going to do some mixed, lease a little bit of pasture and try to build that up and use that in the fall when we bring them back, along with they'll probably finish off the pasture in the fall, our core 4 acres. Once it's done and we've taken the chickens and sheep off of it, we'll probably bring the cows in just to clean it up and add some manure to it and fertilization to it once it's dormant. I'm not going to be worried about them being too hard on it. And so for the herd for us, I mean, we're expecting about 7 this year and not sure whether we'll keep all of them or not. And we've got to continue to some pasture on our own property. And that is one of the other projects I didn't mention. When I spent some time with Joel Salatin this year, I was really inspired about turning some forest area into pasture. And we have a lot of areas that are young, thick saplings that were logged years ago, never maintained. And we're going to go in and clean that out. Teaches in his pasture rehabilitation class over at the School of Traditional Skills. I hope to bring you along with that journey via video when we get to it. Let's see. Looking for some questions here. Ooh, Eve Morris, you're pushing my skill set here. Can you talk about dry aging whole animal muscles without curing? And so I'm not sure if you're talking about like dehydrating for long storage or just dry aging. Because you're speaking whole muscles, not whole animal. I'm assuming that you're talking about a long term dry aging that's going to preserve that for a while. And I cannot speak a whole lot to that. That's an area that I would like to learn about more bandwidth on. But what I can speak to is dry aging when you're processing an animal, as far as getting it ready for breaking down and cutting and wrapping. And we love to do that when we can. We don't really have the facilities for it. If I send an animal to butcher, I always ask them to, age that for at least 10 days, up to 21 days. And I think it's great for meat. If the meat is good, it will accentuate the flavor. If it is not good, it will accentuate that flavor. But I'm a big proponent of that. But sorry if you're talking about more of a storage process there. I'm not able to speak to that real well. Let's see. Um, I'm interested. Here's Teresa is asking. I'm interested in how your experience growing mushrooms this year went. We're looking at growing them for the first time and wondered if you had across. Teresa, we had a fantastic experience growing King Strophoria, also known as wine caps, in our mulched wall, 18 inches wide, our walkways, and usually have 4 to 6 inches of wood shavings, hardwood wood shavings in them. And so we inoculated those in the spring with that King Strophoria and it performed. It was amazing. Did very, very good. I think our cool, wet spring really helped a lot to get it going. Um, and you just got to attempt it and make a go at it and start. I know one thing that is a theory for me because I have inoculated some different areas before, and I've always done it in the fall, and it didn't turn out well. And I think my theory is that I was too late in the fall, and it got established, though the mycelium should be able to make it through the winter. So, not really an expert there, but King Strophoria is one of the easier ones to get going in my experience. We have a lot of it here in our area. There's a lot of people that use it. And so just go do it. It's low risk. It doesn't take a lot of effort, literally hours. It might not even have been that. Inoculating a 65-foot by 18-foot row and took about 2.5 months. And then we literally harvest mushrooms for 4 months, I think, and was really, really happy with it. And we're going to continue to expand that. So easy experiment. Let's see here. Curious if you guys have any projects, any things you're excited about this year that you're going to be doing that you want to talk about with that theme of just what does the year bring and what kind of projects are we working on. Rhiannon says, I'm considering building a dwarf orchard and getting a small orchard started. Um, I'm doing the same as far as we have some trees here and we have areas that we're going to orchard, and we've certainly planted trees, but we're just getting ready to step into the realm of extending orchards ourselves. And, I think, one, obviously doing your research on your trees and making sure you're having the right trees and the right varieties for your area, for your zone. Depending on the size of your area, if you can have enough trees to have a difference of chill hour requirements, because different years are different. And so you can spread that out. So some years something works for one variety, it doesn't work for another variety. So that's some of the things that I would be considering. As far as soil building, I would just take heed from Paul Gauci and mulch heavily. If you don't have that orchard in, mulch it heavily now and give it a year if you can. I mean, don't wait, but mulch it, or plant it and then mulch it heavily with, as much as 12 to 18 inches of wood chips. And, you can do some research on Paul. He talks about it a little bit in the class for the school traditional skills. So that class is than on the orchard. But having spent some time with him and having seen, and of course his orchard is 25 years into him first starting that process, but all he's ever done is added wood chips to it. He says there's people worry about the wood chips being up the tree trunks. There's no problem with that because they're wood chips, they're coarse, moves through them, and they start to build soil down below. And so you can put them on very, very thick, and that really builds soil. The other thing I would do with the knowledge I have today, and that I'm going to do as we get trees out, is inoculate with mycelium, because that those networks are very important to trees, and so you can get a head start on things. It'll develop on its own. But that would be a few of my thoughts for a short conversation here about getting an orchard started. Let's see. Michelle, a chocolate box. I can't tell what you're saying. I wouldn't recommend it. I guess that's something about Nancy. Let's see. Nancy says, I'm now overrun with wild bunnies. Is it possible to live trap and keep them, domesticate them for manure compost? Do that. If you're going to trap them, I would remove them, process them, the right time of the year. They can be great food. A lot of people are raising rabbits for dog food. I think you're trying to get into domesticating them is probably not going to work as far as breeding. And so just start rabbits, though. If you want to use rabbits, you might start your own and then just work on getting rid of the wild ones. So I'd agree with Michelle there. Let's see. Wendy, seed saving. That's a question. Wendy, I don't know. Are you okay? Here she goes down here. Will appreciate any suggestions or school of traditional skills. So we are doing minor seed saving. We're certainly not the experts. We're growing a little bit every year, and some good places to start is with lettuces, peppers. Tomatoes are a little more complex. Some people do great at it. We're not great at it, but we've been so busy. It hasn't something we've put a ton of area into, ton of focus on. So you can get seed saving is on the class list for the School of Traditional Skills this year. It's something that probably wouldn't come out until late summer and fall, just because it's going to be later in the season to really demonstrate, harvesting of the seeds and having that conversation and giving you guys some good visuals for the school. So we're currently in the search for, an instructor for that, and that'll be later in the year. But it is our goal to get a very, very good seed saving class into the School of Traditional Skills this year. And that's something we're excited about. We will be excited to be able to take a deeper dive there. But just start with some of the simples. And again, a lot of your leafy greens are easy. They're a great place to start. And, squashes are also easy, but realize that most squash, you're not going to get true to type there. Corn's also very easy seed saving if you're just growing one variety. Again, if you're growing a couple of varieties, they're going to cross pollinate. But if you just want to grow one, corn is super, super easy. You just let it dry on the cob there, and then put it up. Let's see here. Larissa, this is just a comment. I should be showing these. Carolyn would be telling me, hey, put these up on the screen. So sorry, I'm forgetting about that. We're looking for land in Vermont to start our homestead. I'm soaking as much knowledge as I can. We're super excited. It's been our dream for a few years now. That is so exciting, Larissa, and hope you'll share that journey with everybody and that it goes well for you. I'm trying to think of the permaculturalist there in Vermont, Ben. He writes a great book called The Resilient Homestead. I think it's The Resilient Homestead. I hope I'm saying that right. He's a permaculturalist guy. A little on, the heavy environmental side, maybe more than a lot of us are, but very, very, very good knowledge. And of course, he's in Vermont, Larissa, which is why I bring that up. I think it's The Resilient Homestead, and might be a great resource there for you for ideas around homestead design and permaculture applications in that Vermont environment, which can also be a tough environment. Let's see here. Rose is asking, having a hard time getting seeds started. I use the containers you recommended, seed starting soil, moist soil, and a warm pot. I get about 1 to 3 seeds out of 16 pots. Any suggestions? Wow, Rose. I don't know. Make sure your soil is warm enough. Make sure your seed quality is good, and watch out for. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not going to come out. We are going to have a seed starting class for school traditional skills, but it's probably going to be later that we do that. Probably early next year for that one before we can get it done. So just check everything out. The methods that we recommend, and a lot of people out there are solid. Make sure you know your soil and that it's a good quality seed starting soil, and just go through everything and make sure that they're quality. There's temperature, where it needs to be. You can get some of those heat mats if things are a little cool for you. But it's hard again without really knowing the details to know what could be going wrong for you. Michelle over at Chocolate Box is saying the easiest garden crops to save seeds from are beans and radishes, and yes, those are a couple another great ones, and especially beans for the very beginner. Beans and corn are probably some of the easiest. I think they're just you pretty much just harvest them and let them dry, as are a lot of things like radishes and leafy greens. So thanks, Michelle, for adding that in. Let's see here. Eve is asking, how was your diet prior to homesteading, and was there a difficult adjustment for you? Um, yeah, Michelle, and that was Ben Falk. You're right. Thank you. It's been a slow journey, I think, over the years. My diet growing up was not good. I was a single child raised on fast food and Campbell's canned food. And so it was not good. Thankfully, I had influences in my life, in my later teenager years and early 20s of folks that I were working with that were very food conscious, and that raised my awareness. Carolyn was raised with a fairly traditional but much more healthy diet. They weren't necessarily organic or avoiding canned foods or prepackaged foods, but still had a lot of fresh food and a lot of fresh cooking. So she had a good start in that, and it just over the years as our awareness grew. We shifted and we grew over years, and now we kind of apply the 80-20 rule. We're not purists. We do the best that we can, but also don't want to live stressed when we travel or out and about and we're visiting friends. And so we kind of, roll with that 80-20 rule. But I'll tell you, having the kids grown up this way and having lived the way we have for so long, it's interesting, even like during the holidays now, where we've got lots of sugar around and sees candy and people send us stuff. Even the kids self-moderate very, very well because they realize they can tell the difference in their bodies eating a clean diet so often, um, that you can feel the effect. And that's been really neat uh, to see. Let's see, D. Hansen, Rose. Not all seeds need heat mats. What seeds are you having trouble with? And Daryl's definitely getting the heart of that. We need to know what seeds, and so I think that's a great conversation in the community to pick up there. And there's lots of people like Daryl and Michelle and others that can help. But yeah, you kind of got to get down a little bit more into, what seeds are the problem, and then some of the specifics of your methodology there. Let's see. We're going to start to wrap up here soon. Looking for another one. Let's see. I want to pull one here. This is a great one for thinking about getting a garden started. And Rachel Doobie is asking, and this is from I think email or from the community. We will be moving our main crop garden closer to our home. That's a great idea, but the soil is very compact where vehicles were driving on it. We've moved our hens on it for the winter, and we plan to use back to Eden as best we can, and want to plant on it this year. Would you light till it before the paper, compost, and mulch, or would you just pile on the compost? I'm unsure of what to do because you can hardly get a shovel in this dirt. It's so compacted. And Rachel, I would absolutely till it in this scenario, especially with the fact that you want to plant on it this year. And you can theoretically have a very good garden. And honestly, I wouldn't be hesitant to do a heavy till to accomplish much as you can. This is going to be a one-time event, a one-time disturbance, and it will definitely accelerate your garden. And I would say you're going to have at least a year, even with if you really use topsoil, heavy compost on top of it, and mulching. That'll get you going, but you're still going to have a hard pan down there that's going to take some years to overcome if you just go straight with the back to Eden method or lasagna method. Your roots are just not going to penetrate that well. So if you can loosen that up by tilling, I would absolutely do it. If you have access to manure that you can till in, I would absolutely do that as well. One of the best gardens, the hands down best first year garden we ever had, was on some property in Tennessee. It was heavy clay. It was heavily compacted with sod in it. And we were going to do exactly what you're talking about. We were going to do back to Eden method. And this was back right after it came out in 2012. I think Paul's that movie came out in 2011. We were going to apply that. We had a neighbor come by while we were gone and till it up for us, and we were bummed. But we learned something because he tilled it up. He turned in pig manure and barn manure, and we let that sit for a while. We then added 6 inches of compost above that. We didn't do the sheet mulching, and it worked out fine. We didn't do any paper or cardboard or anything. We just evened it all out, added about 6 inches of compost and about 6 inches of mulch, and went from there. And we had the hands down best first year garden we've ever had. So go ahead and till it up, add some manure in there, and then just carry on with the back to Eden, and you should have a decent year. And that will put you years ahead of if you don't do that and you just go straight to the back to Eden method. Hey guys, I've got to wrap it up here. I see there's some good conversations going in here, and just really want to encourage you guys to take that into the community. That's why the community is there. You can really dive into the nuts and bolts and the details. If you want a detail that you feel that I can answer, tag me in it, and I will try to jump in there. But you've got some great support from folks like Michelle and Daryl and lots of other people in the community, and you can really get into the nitty gritty. And that's really what it takes to solve some of these things, is to just understand the specifics to get good answers. And so just want to really encourage you to do that, and hope you guys just get a great start to your year. And there's a lot of exciting things going on with homesteading, family, and School of Traditional Skills. We'll keep you updated on that. And we'll see you again soon. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.